Distinguished guests, participants, ladies and gentlemen, I'm pleased to welcome you to the third day of the EU Support to Higher Education in the ASEAN Regions Policy Dialogue 12. My name is Darren McDermott and I'm the team leader of the SHARE programme. SHARE is the largest higher education cooperation programme underway in ASEAN. The programme's overarching objective is to strengthen regional cooperation and enhance the quality, competitiveness and internationalisation of ASEAN higher education. And this contributes to the development of an ASEAN higher education space. SHARE's approach to supporting regional higher education is inclusive. The programme engages with ASEAN and relevant non-ASEAN entities to build on existing initiatives and serve as a platform for engagement with the wider higher education community in the region. As a programme, we promote the values of equity, diversity and inclusion in all of our activities, and I'm pleased to announce that next week we'll be launching a call for proposals for a study on gender, equity, diversity and inclusion to be conducted between August and September. So please keep a close eye on the SHARE website for the call if this would be of interest to you. It now gives me great pleasure to welcome His Excellency Ambassador Morikawa Toru, Executive Director of the Asia-Europe Foundation based in Singapore. Ambassador Morikawa joined the Asia-Europe Foundation as its 8th Executive Director in August 2020. He's a seasoned career diplomat bringing decades of experience and expertise to ASEF. His previous postings include serving as Minister, City Head of Mission, Embassy of Japan in Iran, and Minister Counselor, Embassy of Japan in France, where he was in charge of various cultural exchange initiatives. He's also worked in the areas of media and regional economic cooperation and has experience in cultivating and enhancing partnerships for projects with different organizations, including the private sector. Ambassador Morikawa received his bachelor degree in law from the University of Tokyo, and he is fluent in Japanese, French, and English. So welcome to the SHARE Policy Dialogue, Ambassador Morikawa. Yoroshiku onegai itashimasu.
Thank you so much for Your Excellencies, distinguished participants. My name is Morikawa Toru, the Executive Director of the Asia-Europe Foundation. It is a great honor for me to speak at the policy dialogue of the European Union support to higher education in the ASEAN region SHARE, co-organized by the European Union and the ASEAN Secretariat. From Singapore, I wish a good afternoon to the friends in Asia and a good morning to the partners in Europe. ASEF is an intergovernmental non-for-profit organization which brings together the people of Asia and Europe through intellectual, cultural, and people-to-people exchanges, so that Asians and Europeans address common global challenges together. It is the sole permanent institution of the Asia-Europe meeting, a dialogue process involving senior officials, ministers, and leaders. For ASEF, education is one of our key thematic areas, and our work in education aims to foster collaboration between youth, students, teachers, educators, higher education and edtech experts, with policymakers across Asia and Europe. One of the pillars of our activities related to education is to promote equity and inclusion in higher education. It contributes to achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. ASEF is contributing to the vision of the ASEAN Education Process, AEP. By 2030, the AEP will contribute to a more prosperous, resilient, and sustainable Asia-Europe education region, better prepared for current and future global challenges. The AEP seeks to promote inclusive and equitable quality education and training through equal and mutually beneficial partnerships leveraged by people-to-people connectivity. At the last ministerial meeting, ASEAN education ministers had highlighted that the AEP should aim at ensuring inclusion and equality in education by building comprehensive systems that are accessible to all. The ASEF Regional Conference on Higher Education, ARC, is the official dialogue partner of the ASEAN Education Ministers meeting. It is the only bi-regional multi-stakeholder dialogue platform for university and student leaders, policymakers, and ministers to discuss higher education issues to shape the education landscape in Asia and Europe. The eighth edition of ARC is inviting Asian and European higher education and student leaders to leverage on the current COVID-19 disruption and make inclusion and diversity central values. Titled Outlook 2030 Inclusive and Diverse Higher Education in Asia and Europe. ARC 8 will explore how universities and the students can foster inclusion and diversity in the final decade for the Agenda 2030. The theme aligns with the priority areas of the ASEM Education Process 5 and the upcoming 8th ASEM Education Ministers meeting. In addition, ASEF will organize spin-off activities focusing on disseminating findings of the ARC8 Outlook Report 2030 and build capacity for local and regional stakeholders. Distinguished participants, it is in this context that ASEF plays its part in the discussion at today's policy dialogue. ASEF applauds the partnership between the European Union and ASEAN, which is taking steady steps guided by the Bangkok Declaration on Advancing Partnership in Education for the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development in ASEAN through different projects such as SHARE. The mutual recognition of the higher educational system, such as credit and application, across the ASEAN countries would be a key institutional backbone to promote equity and inclusion in higher education, not only between the members, but also in respective domestic educational systems for different groups of the society, as well as with different ASEAN partners. According to the SHARE infographic on higher education in Asia, I quote, Southeast Asia is one of the most vibrant and fastest growing regions in the world. With a population of over 630 million, the region accounts for a significant share of global trade and investment. Southeast Asia is home to some 7,000 higher education institutions, with around 12 million students. As connectivity increases and the ASEAN community expands, national higher education systems are rapidly changing, and internationalization in the sector is accelerated in the emerging ASEAN higher education area. End of quote. If I allow myself to add an element to this remark, it is a diversity in the region. It is a region extremely rich in diversity with different religions, cultures, and academic traditions. The higher education system of each country is different because it stems from such different backgrounds. The mutual recognition is only possible based on the mutual understanding and trust through a long-lasting dialogue with political will and endurance. The experience over a number of decades by EU in bridging such difficulties would be a good source of reference for ASEAN members. I remember well my younger days in France to mingle with the students from every corner of Europe and the world. The conversations with them opened my eyes to a greater world. At the same time, I believe that the cooperation between the two major regional organizations will provide the Europeans with good food for thought for their ongoing further efforts. distinguished participants. Allow me to quote an extract from the European Commission website. I quote, "Higher education and its links with research and innovation play a crucial role in individual and societal development, and in providing the highly skilled human capital and the engaged citizens that Europe needs to create jobs, economic growth, and prosperity." The higher education is one of the important keys for our societies to step into the greener economy in the post-COVID-19 era, which will be built back better from the pandemic. To ensure the equity and inclusiveness in higher education is the best investment for the future for all of us in Asia and Europe. I wish all of you a fruitful discussion today.